everybody, welcome to our Engineering Design and Development Capstone Project, and today we're going to be presenting Smart Heart. So first off, we're going to introduce ourselves. My name is Emma O'Malley Galvin. I'm a senior, and this is my 4th year in the PLTW courses.
And I'm Abby Stuzinski. I'm a senior, and this is my 4th year in the PLTW courses as well.
So to start off, we want to take a quick poll. I want you all to raise your hands if you know somebody on the autism spectrum. All right, that's awesome.
Now, considering that would make a lot of sense because 1 in 54 Americans are on the autistic spectrum.
And autism is actually a social emotional disorder, so sometimes our friends on the spectrum can have a hard time dealing with their emotions when they get too overwhelmed. And this can lead to behaviors such as meltdowns, shutdowns, or even elopement. And now that's kind of a big word, so let's step back for a second and define that. Now, elopement is when the individual flees from a safe or comfortable place that they're supposed to be in. And now 48% of children on the autism spectrum attempt to elope, and a third of these elopement cases end in injury or death, and a third of children on the spectrum are semi or non-verbal, so in an unknown environment, they may not be able to communicate basic information. And this is a struggle for parents. 32% of parents had a close call with drowning, 62% of parents reported elopement as a stressful behavior, and 40% of parents experienced sleep disruption due to fear or active elopement. So that leads us to our problem statement. How can we help parents know when their child is getting upset? Now, what if you were a parent and you could know when your child was upset? Say you were at work and your child was at school, and you could know that they were getting upset when you're not there with them.
So then that brings us to the devices that are on the market for today. So first up, we have smartwatches, which are great for technology-based and Bluetooth-based. But unfortunately, it does not do anything for pre-emotional awareness. Second, we have behavioral therapy. Unfortunately, it can be very, very costly. It's a 50-50 shot if it'll work for your child, and it can be very overwhelming because of the new environments. We then have self-regulation apps. Those work to an extent, but they have to physically be given to the child to use. Then we have Capture My Emotion. It's a chest piece, wrist piece, and head piece. Unfortunately, that can be very uncomfortable for a child to wear. Then we have our other bodily sensors. As you can see, we have some head pieces and thumb gear as well, with some wrist wear. And unfortunately, they only work to an extent, and they're very uncomfortable for children. So then that brought us into our solution matrix. Now, the solution matrix helped us with our pros and cons for each individual invention that was later in use that we just found out, and it gave us specific specifications to put into a device that we are then going to create. So then that brings us back to our problem statement. What exactly can we put in a product that is going to help parents when their child is having a tantrum or is upset? So then that brought us to our design criteria. We obviously want it to be able to distinguish different emotions, such as happy, sad, angry, etc. We have self-regulation prompts, which will be personalized. We have notify the user and the caregiver. So not only is the caregiver going to know, but the user is going to know as well what's going on. We have location versatility. We want it to be very comfortable for the user. We want it to be easy to navigate, very simple, and then we also want it to be very personalized for the user because each user is going to be different in their own way.
So that brings us to the question of how exactly do we differentiate emotions in a user? Now, Abby and I did a little bit of research, and we found out that heart rate variability gives you a lot of insight as to your emotions. And here you can see some examples of cardiograms that graph heart rate variability, so we decided to go with that route. So we figured out what can we buy exactly to figure out heart rate variability. And me and Abby decided that the best way to do this was to purchase a Fitbit Inspire 2. And we had Mr. Kenny give us his little credit card, and we went ahead and we bought that.
Shopping spree.
Shopping spree.
So then we got into our research process. We were very, very thankful to have 7 participants. It was a mixed age between 12 and 54 years old. We had male and female participate, and it was over a 48-hour testing period to make sure we got accurate data to back up our theory. So as an example, up on the board, we have the instruction sheet that was given to each participant to follow. As an example, we have our data log chart. So at a certain time, they would report what activity they were doing and the mood reported during that activity. So then we had them paired up with a cardiogram app. The cardiogram app gave us our 48 intervals of the full cardiogram in 15-minute intervals. So we were able to see the heart rate data in 15-minute intervals over that 48 time period. So then we had at 11:10 a.m., this is just an example, we had an individual participant that made a phone call to a student's parent. They reported being stressed, and if you look where we circled, at exactly 11:10, they had a spike in their heart rate. Now you may be wondering, Abby, doesn't physical activity play a big part in this? Yes, obviously the more physical activity you do, the higher your heart rate is going to go. But therefore, in this case, you cannot argue that in all the other cases, because at this point where their heart rate was the highest, their physical activity was the lowest out of that 48-hour period. So we cannot argue that it was physical activity, it was obviously emotional based. We were very, very grateful that we had an overall 86% testing accuracy. Each individual was over a 74% with the testing accuracy with the charts.
So that brings us back to our problem statement. How can we use this method that we just proved works with our research? How can we use that method to help parents know when their child is upset? So Abby and I brainstormed, and we decided that the best way to do this was to propose an app that would prompt the user based on when that data shows that they are in a negative emotional state. So that leads us to our proposal, which is our app called Smart. And we are now going to give you a little run through of a simulation of what theoretically our app would look like if we could actually make one.
So this will be our sign up screen. Obviously you sign up with your email to sign up, or if you already have an account, you can sign in. To the right of that, we have Harry as an example. He's 9 years old. We have his bio. It's going to be very, very personalized. He will be working on certain techniques that will help him bring him back down to a calm state. We have his apps that will then be used to be prompts to help him calm back down. And then we have his likes that will help as well. This is very, very personalized for each user, which is great because each person on the autistic spectrum is going to vary.
Yeah, Abby did a great job explaining that. And something I want to add is the techniques. You could, if you have your child in behavioral therapy, you can put specific techniques that they're working on in therapy that their therapist recommends.
And then this is just like our little home screen. We have the cardiogram up at the top, and that'll give you your present time heart rate and your past heart rate. This can also show you can look at your past alerts, notifications. You can check in on your users and caregivers. You can have multiple of them. And then just like any other home screen, you have your settings and then your past alerts and your current stats.
So then that brings us to what a prompt would maybe look like in our app. This is what a prompt would look like for the caregiver and the user. The user would be wearing a watch that would have all the sensors needed to gather this data, and they would be able to get the prompt when they're upset, and the caregiver would also get it on whatever device they prefer. And this is another example of what a prompt would look like if maybe you're actively using your phone. And then that brings us to a hyperlinked page of all of the techniques that Harry can use to calm himself down. Now, when you have this prompt, they're going to be hyperlinked to this page. So if Harry wants to maybe work on his techniques, he'd click on it, it would take him to this page, it would give him a description of all the techniques he is using. He could click on all those apps that him and his parents have linked, or he can have pictures to remind him of some of his favorite toys that help him calm down.
So then we get into our possible pathways that we can take with this product, with this app software. So now Fitbit and Apple, they have very similar software. They have the software that we would need to produce this product. But if Apple and Fitbit were willing to do it, we would then just release our app on the market, and it would be out there for the consumer to then buy and then use with the technology that Fitbit and Apple provide.
Another pathway that we could also take is marketing our own watch specifically for this purpose. It would be our own watch with all of the sensors that would be required to gather the data, and then they would pair it with a free app that you can download, which is the app we just showed, and you would pair it with that watch that you just bought. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and reflecting on this year, it was definitely an unprecedented year. If we could do anything differently, I think I would say that we definitely wanted to get an expert opinion on what they thought of this route that we took, and I think we also would have liked a few more participants, but with the time crunch of this year, that wasn't possible. But yeah, a few more participants to get a more accurate testing accuracy, but that's about it for today.
And also, I just wanted to say that we're also very thankful for Mr. and Mrs. Kenny for being able to have us do this, and also for Mrs. Kenny helping us get those participants in, which helped us a lot.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So that leads us to the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.